Hello, and welcome to episode number 5 of the Let's Learn Awake guitar series. Today, we will be covering every single note, every single time change, every single chord progression, and a full, detailed musical analysis of Voices by Dream Theater. This is the second song in the Mind Beside Itself suite, which takes up the early to mid part of the album. Now, it continues us down an even darker road than the previous track, Erotomania, delivering us themes of paranoia, derangement, and the imagined ramblings of a schizophrenic throughout its lyrics. Now, do I really wish to know the truth of who these lyrics are actually referring to? Could it be a familiar member of the band, who now views himself as an old man, sitting behind the ebony and ivory, scrooging about completely detached from reality, and suffering visions of his lead singer in a French maid outfit conspiring with John Mayung to poison his tea? Could it be that? I'm not sure. And how much is that spider in the window? Oh, I wish that spider was for sale. Let's waste no more time and find out right now. The intro to Voices takes over a minute to complete, so we have a lot to go through. But a lot of the stuff is based around the same singular riff, just with permutated versions throughout. So let's check out the very beginning. Take a listen. Now we're already into the first part of the song, and already I can tell these guys are messing with me. I had to switch instruments before I even started playing anything. The nerve. Now the only thing happening with that bass intro is it's hovering around an A blues pattern. Now this is more of like a diminished thing than anything else, because we actually play a full diminished arpeggio throughout the pattern, but we can call it sort of an A blues. Goes like this. And the notes being A to E, 1 to 5, doing that twice, and then coming down to the flat fifth, down an A diminished triad, and then to a D and a C. Now the most interesting part of this riff is the timing. The entire intro, as it goes, is in the time signature of 9/8, and it's actually very simply laid out. It's just 9 notes, 9/8 notes being played right in a sequence. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. The guitar comes in right out of the gate with the bass guitar, but just holds out this chord. And all that is the 4th fret on the G and the B string and the open E. I think it's supposed to outline like a B over an A. So we'll call it a B over an A. The next little blip that comes in is a 4th fret harmonic on the same 2 strings and frets. 4th fret GB. Just like that. Now the bass part of this section doesn't really change very much, except we do come down an octave with the riff halfway through. So we're at the 7th fret of the D string. All the same notes, all the same 9/8 pattern, nothing else changes in that regard. Now the electric guitar brings us our first drastic change of the song, and it goes like this. A to an A tritone, then we do this. All power chords on the D and the G string, going down these notes and sneaking all those in. Now it should be mentioned that each of these chords are being played on either the 1 or the 9th beat. So the 9th beat almost makes it feel like an incomplete measure of 5 or an over-complete measure of 4 because of how it works. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1. Every single time we hit those, it happens on 9. So just remember that. Now for chords, we have A to a tritone. Now we can consider this a B7 perhaps over an A because that first chord was a B over an A. but I'm just going to say it's an A with a flatted fifth, with a nice big tritone. The next set of chords is an E flat 5 over an A, which sounds like this. That's dirty, that's nasty, that's dissonant, that's terrible. Then F to G, back down, and then we hit this little tritone just before we come back into the A. So that's kind of interesting. So all in all, tritone, E flat F, F, G, F, tritone A. Now the next time we go like this, G. So much more open and free power chords toward the end. You have the G, which is an open voicing, which is 2 fingers, then an F, and then sneak an E right before you come back into the next part, which we're going to go over right now. For this section of the intro, the bass finally settles into the proper range, the proper register for the riff, which everybody else is going to join in on eventually, but not yet. John Myung still plays this riff by himself, but down here instead with an open A. And we repeat that twice. Now let's look at that little thing at the end. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's pretty bluesy, man. This is a blues song. Now the guitar experiences another subtle change. We're still holding out chords, but this time more regularly, and we're in a higher register as well. The same harmonic function though, with the A and the tritone and the F and the G, you're going to see right here. We have the A to the tritone, 7, 8, 9, to the F, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Power chord G, F. And then we go like this. Lots of palm mutes. Same time signature. And then we join John Myung right in with the riff that he was playing before, like this. Now the articulation is the important part of this. We start off with 2 unmuted notes, and then we mute until we get to the last 2 notes. So it's almost like a sandwich, an unmuted sandwich. The first 2 notes are unmuted, the notes in the middle, however many those are. Now we should know how many notes those are because we're in 9/8, right? So if you have 4 unmuted notes, then we must have, I don't know, 5 muted notes. That's exactly what we have. Mute, 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 unmute, mute, 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 unmute. And then all these are free. Don't forget that. The next part mirrors the same exact riff, except we're on the E string, and we're palm muting power chords. Wow, everything's palm muted. Except the last 3. Now the last part is very tricky, because you have to go 3, 2, 1, open, right back into the A. Now check that out, I'm gonna play this slow for you. 07, 07, 6, 3, 5. Do it again. 6, 3, 5. 07, 07, and the last time. 6, 3, 2, 1, oh, right back into the original riff. All the same, except we stop right on that last note on the 3rd fret of the A string. The only other thing I want to add to that is that you add a slight bend at the end of each A riff. Slight bend at the end. If you don't do that slight bend at the end, they're going to lock you up in the loony bin, throw away the key, just like the guy in this song. So let me take a second to talk about the drums in this very last part of the intro. Listen to this clip and then I'll elaborate on that. Now what's interesting about this drum part is that Portnoy is keeping a solid 4/4 going throughout the 9/8. So we're doing a classic play over the bar type of phrase. So it'll be something like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You see how it came back to the 1? When you have a quarter note going like this, going straight through a measure of 9/8, eventually what's going to happen is that quarter note is going to become the upbeat of the entire next measure, and then eventually resolve back to a downbeat on the third measure, which is exactly what happens. So it goes like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. The symbol starts off on beats 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. Okay? Now when you continue through, you're going to skip beat 1 of the next measure and then go 2, 4, 6, 8, 1. And then eventually you're going to land back on 1. And that's the Portnoy magic right there. Now aside from the drums, the only other peculiarity here is that Kevin Moore goes back to the chords. Always a lone wolf in what he does. Check this out. So in order for me to really break down this verse, we got to head behind the piano a little bit, because Kevin Moore is the only one playing behind James LaBrie's vocal part. We're starting off with a 4-chord progression that basically sets up the entire rest of the song in various mutative ways. We start off with this 3-note cluster, okay, that represents an A7 chord, like this. Okay, so clustering the notes E, G, and A together, which is the 5th, the flat 7th, and the root of that particular chord. The next one is going to be an A6 chord, so we're just coming down a half step and playing an F sharp instead of a G. So now we have E, F sharp, and A. The 5th, the 6th, and the root. Next up we have an F major 7 with an E, an F, and an A playing together with a nice dissonance with the minor second there. Don't underestimate the usage of minor seconds. So just like that. And then we hit this chord, which looks like an E minor. It sounds like an E minor, but guess what? The note on the bottom is a G. So we can say that that's an E minor in first inversion, or even better yet, a G6. Just like that. Doesn't that sound beautiful? I also want to make a note about the simplicity of this section of the song. Kevin Moore's usage of simplistic chord progressions is totally valid and totally necessary, and if we don't use it, we don't realize it, and we don't appreciate it while it's here, it's going to be gone forever. The first guitar entrance of verse 1 is actually incredibly simple to play, and it goes like this. Just hold it out like that. Now the difficult part about this is acquiring the tools necessary to make it sound like how it does on the album. So take a listen to it now with all the wet stuff on it. Now what exactly was that? My best guess is it was either a very heavy tremolo effect or a step splicer that took all of those notes of the guitar and chops it up into little pieces, so it goes. In addition to that, I'm hearing a little bit of a flanger effect, perhaps a little bit of chorus, and second most importantly to the tremolo effect is the auto pan, the stereo image auto pan, bringing it from the left speaker to the right speaker and circling around and making it into a whirlwind of emotion that nobody can handle except Kevin Moore's head. The first real guitar entrance that happens during this quiet section is actually right after the first verse. We reach this little instrumental break where the guitar comes in with these volume swells. Those notes interact with the chords exactly how they should. So the first one starts off on the root, which is the A. Then it goes down to the 5th, and then the flat 6 right on that chord change to the F, and then we bend into the major third of the A chord, to the root, flat 6 again, and then a little Lydian thing to bring us back, right into the root. The next part, we continue down into the lower octave, playing all of the exact same notes. So remember that theoretical stuff that I just told you, and we do this. 2nd fret, 3rd fret, bend the 2nd fret of the A, gradual bend, hold it, and then open A, F, low F, same thing, and then unleash the beast on the open A string. The other point of interest that starts up during this volume swell section and also continues to the rest of this verse part is the bass line. We start on the root note A, then we dip down, do a double F sharp for that A6 chord, come back to the root note for the F. So this is actually turning the chord on top into an F over A, or whatever you want to call that F with the major on top. The F augmented, I would say. Like an F augmented with a sharp 4 as well. It's a very strange chord, but it's definitely altered. And then we come into this. 1 G to bring us back in there. So it's almost like a crazy G7 chord that brings us back. So we have A, F sharp, A to G. And then it just repeats like that throughout the rest of the section. This last section of the verse has a little bit more going on. We have the bass line that we just heard previously, along with Kevin Moore's piano line. So that stays constant pretty much through this entire time. But John Petrucci is adding 2 guitars on top of this. One incredibly heavy distorted guitar, and an arpeggiated acoustic guitar that goes on underneath. So check this out. The electric guitar rings out on these chord voicings. Now make sure to crank the gain, because this is some heavy ass shit. So we're just outlining the chord progression, just like before, but with slightly different voices. So you're bringing the D string down chromatically with those different notes. G, F sharp, F, and then to E. Now, how does this react to the chord progression? Well, we're basically playing an A9 chord, or an A flat 7th chord with the open B string, and then we're playing an F sharp with a B on top, an F augmented. So you have an F, a C sharp, and an open B, and the E, so there's a major 7th as well, all on top of an A. Right? Remember, the bass line is also playing an A because it's playing the same thing. And then we go here to an A sus2 or A at 9, whatever you want to call it. But since the bass is playing a G underneath, that turns that chord into a G6. Okay, so we have A7 with a 9, F sharp with an 11th and a minor 7th, F augmented with a sharp 4 or a flat 5 and a major 7. That's the most dissonant chord ever. And then this A at 9, which is actually a G6. And keeping it real heavy. Alright? You hear how you got that crunch going the whole time? You want to let that ring out, let the feedback come out of the cabinet, turn around if you have to make it go even crazier, and do all that all before the chorus comes. And if the chorus comes beforehand, there's nothing you can do about it because we're living in a nightmare in our own minds. Well, the doctor told me I had to calm down a little bit, so here's some acoustic guitar. Basically just arpeggiating the same chords from before with those variations. Beautiful sounding part. I could just play this all day. And then just let it ring on the way out. Now wasn't that nice? Wasn't that calming? Wasn't that soothing? Where things are about to get loud. Now, thus far throughout this song, we haven't had many difficult things to play. The most technical part were the volume swells from earlier, and that's really the only thing we had to worry about so far. The chords aren't very difficult, and the same thing continues through this chorus section as well, because we're just playing an F with an open B string, arpeggiating down, hitting it again, open E and B, A, then this little run, 4th fret, 3rd fret, octaves. This is actually really fun to play. Downstroke on the D, open G, that run again, octaves again, and here's the ending. Open G on top, open G with this, with the A, and that little ending coming out of it. Now let's talk about the theory here. We're starting off on an F chord, which is actually the flat 6 within the key. Alright, and we're doing a Lydian mode, because we have the sharp 4 on top and the major 7. Well, the major 7 doesn't really do much to it, but the sharp 4 absolutely makes it a Lydian. We then head up to an A major chord, which is a Picardy 3rd, so we're actually mode mixing. And we've been mode mixing this entire song so far. Kevin Moore's keyboard is outlining an A mixolydian, which is a major mode. And we've been going in between A major and A minor, or A mixolydian and A minor, with the F chord. Okay, so we have flat 6, and then we have the Picardy 3rd, major 1, minor 6, flat 6, and then back to the major again. That's just mi, re, do. Mary had a little lamb in A major, coming back down to the flat 6. Then this D chord, we can call that the minor 4. G is the flat 7, back to 1. Do this, minor 6, flat 6, octaves, same mi, re, do. Here is an F and 9, and then a G and 9, which is the flat 7. With that little, which is B, C, B, 2, flat 3 to 2, and then we come back into the heavy riff, which is the E riff, like this. So we just go straight into this. We don't even mess around with the other riff. And then we're into the next section. The next section I'm going to refer to as verse 3. Now this is where things get a lot more hectic. James Labrie is soaring up in the high register, and we actually have some very technical things we need to do with our right hand. So this is probably the first difficult section that we're going to come across. We start off in the open A position, playing all 16th notes. Nice and tight. Kind of sounds like Randy Rhoads. Then, modulation to F sharp. Same thing. Then, modulate back to A. Super tight. Can't get tired. Down to E. Then we gotta do this. Now let's rewind it back a little bit. So we're starting at the 3rd fret, and we're doing all 16th notes. Now pay attention to this rhythm. 1 E and a 2 E and E, and E, 1 E and a 2 E and E, triplet, 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 triplet. So you got to do sextuplets on that part. Now sextuplets, sex, I thought we did a Rhodomania already. Well, guess what? We're in a Mind Beside Itself, which is a part of the same suite, so we're going to have a lot of sex with these tuplets. And you got to make sure you're playing them that quickly as well. So check out my right hand. That's what it's got to be like. Watch. And you're at the 3rd, 5th, and 7th frets. 1, 2, and 4 fingers respectively. And then as soon as you're done doing that, we modulate into the F sharp minor position. So we're going from the 5th to the 2nd fret now. And then 2, 4, same rhythm though, right? Okay, cool. Now getting back into the A, we're doing this. We're 4, 5, and 7. And then right back to A. So full speed, slow, double full speed. And then we come back to A. Same thing. But this time, check this out. We're in a different position now. So those sextuplets there are going to be on the 5, 7, and 8 of the 2 string, coming right into the E minor position, 3rd fret open, 5, 7, 3rd fret, 3rd fret, 5, 7, 3rd fret, 3rd fret, 5, 7, 3rd fret. Then we do this. Super tight chromatic notes, 7, 6, 5, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Whew, after all that's making me thirsty. Let's get to chorus 2, which is exactly the same as chorus 1. But I want to point out that the lyrics in this section are great. There's my favorite line in the song, and it reads as follows. Good behavior brings a savior to his knees. Wow. That's the most profound thing I could imagine out of a Dream Theater song. Dream Theater is not necessarily known for its lyrical prowess, so to speak. I never knew them as being great or fantastic lyricists, but this song has some incredibly good lyrics, and I would consider reading them again if I were you. Now, good behavior brings a savior to his knees. That has a lot of implications. It also has a lot of societal implications as well. Think about it like this. Somebody who's doing good for themselves and doing good for others gets in the way of some megalithic corporation that wants to run everything and control everything. But this one person has a farm, they sell agriculture, they produce things for people that, that people want and people need. And they're offering necessities at a price and receiving monetary compensation or some other type of compensation. It could be bartering, it could be erotomaniacal sex, who knows what the hell it'll be, right? They want to come in and they want to shut you down. They want you to behave. They don't want you spouting off your beliefs on social media. They want you behaving. They want you enslaved like cattle. And that's exactly what this line brings to mind to me. Or it could mean, it's just a completely crazy person that likes to defecate in the middle of a subway, and they need to be given some sort of drugs to calm them down and probably kept in some sort of institutional facility so that they can just, stay calm there. Who knows? This has all gone nowhere. That's not true. This hasn't gone nowhere. I stand by what I said. Let's move on. Coming out of the second chorus, we're hit with another section where we're holding out chords for long periods of time. It's reminiscent to the earlier parts. And it starts like this. You hit the open A string after the lick. 9th fret, open, open. And then we do this. To the 10th fret. So it's like we're hitting an F chord, but an F with a sharp 11 and a major 7. Coming back. And then we do this. Total F Lydian right there. So we're at the 3rd fret and the 5th of the D and G respectively, playing a power chord. And then we're going 3 and 4 for the tritone, resolving back, and then coming back into the tritone again, okay? And then as soon as we're done doing that, we don't repeat it, we go into this psychotic section. Repeat that 4 times, which is a long time, with this crazy Mike Portnoy weird scenario of some guy in a gun coming into a building trying to kill you or something. I don't know what the hell's going on here, but it's very frantic, and the music reflects how frantic this situation has become. Ostensibly, of course, within this man's own mind, but who knows? Sometimes crazy people aren't that crazy. So we go from the 3rd to the 5th fret, hammered on, and you're going to want to let your wrist nice and loose, right? You let it go nice and loosey-goosey on you so you can get it fast enough. All 16th notes. With those accents. And you alternate between this, the 3rd fret and the 5th of the E. And every other time you go from the 3rd fret of the A back down to the 5th of the E, like this. Hear that? It's very subtle. All A minor pentatonic. 3 notes. And then just hit a nice open A power chord, which then fades into the final verse. Some very serious looking man in a suit just came into my house and said I needed to calm down because he heard what I had to say earlier about chorus 2. So I'm back with the acoustic guitar again, and I'm going to describe what this is doing on the acoustic because we need to bring it down a little bit. We're playing around with sort of the same chords but not, so we're playing a slightly different progression than what we were used to earlier in the song. Earlier it was right on the flat 7, going down that line cliche down to the 2nd fret. Now this time though we're starting on the 7th fret, so we're just starting on A. Just an A add 9, then the flat 7, the 6, and the last chord of the progression is the F Lydian, just like that. Now remember what I said. John Petrucci loves the open B and E strings on these early albums. I don't even know if there's a single song that doesn't have that happening, with some sort of open string ringing out over the chord underneath, but hey, it works. And if it works, it works. Alright, the weird man in the suit is gone, so we can go back to playing a little bit of loud guitar now. So we're going to get pretty loud. We're going to wake up our neighbors here. But not too loud. We're more out of like a mezzo forte from the piano that we were playing at before. We're playing a power chord at the 7th and the 9th fret of the D and G string, and we have the open A alternating in between. So we're creating a ping pong effect between those two strings and the open A string. And we play this with some distortion, but not too loud this time around, but we're going to do a crescendo. We have our 1 chord as the A, setting up the flat 6 chord, which is the F, to the flat 3 chord, or we can just call this a 1 minor 7, to the 4 chord over the 1. Then here, this is a secondary dominant, resolving to the 5, then the flat 6, so we're just scaling up really, flat 7, and then we're back home. The same chord progression. But here we're just holding these out. We're even heavier now. We're doing that A7, and then we're doing this. Little octave jump. Then the same power chord and Lydian thing from before. We repeat. And then F sharp, slide, F, Lydian, and then we repeat this again. Just don't stare. Just keep on going. To the D, then withdrawn and introverted, infectiously perverted, being laughed at and abused, keeps us pleasantly amused. Now on that pleasantly amused, we don't play the same thing. We don't play the G up at the 17th fret here. We actually play an open G chord. Ring finger on the 3rd fret of the low E, open D, open G, 1st fret on the B, pinky on the high E on the 3rd fret. We go like this. Resolve it, and then go like this. So we're going to a G sus2, and then resolving it to G. So G sus4, resolving to G major, and then G sus2 with this different fingering, resolving to a G power chord, but the big open type that John Petrucci likes to use. One more time. Then of course, we hold out the A one more time, and then we have to handle the guitar solo section, but before that, we have this little intermittent F chord coming in, and it's sort of like a fake out to the chorus. Same thing, just instrumental. And then we cut that out and we head right into the guitar solo. Let's check out what all the parts of the guitar solo sound like together. Then we're going to talk about the rhythm, and we're going to get into probably one of the best John Petrucci guitar solos of all time. Stick around here. Before we get into this monster of a guitar solo, let's talk about the rhythm track. The rhythm track is comprised of Kevin Moore on the organ and John Mayung on the bass, and of course my Portnoy on the drums, but you know, the melodic instruments. So the organ part is going like this, just holding out the chords, which is A, A7, so we're in a mixolydian here, F sharp minor, and then F. So that leaves us with A as the one chord, major 1, 1 with a flat 7th, going to the minor 6 chord, so all this is in A major, technically, or A mixolydian, but F sharp minor exists in both. And then the flat 6th chord, which is the F, which dips us into A minor. So I'm going to split this solo up into 4 separate big sections, and then I'll break those sections down as we go. The chord progression goes through 4 times, so that's why I chose the number 4. So just for the purpose of clarity, I'm not going to be using the wah pedal like Petruvius uses in this demonstration, because I think it's easier for you to hear the notes if I don't use it. And plus the wah is used to cover up a lot of mistakes, which we're not going to make. So let me break down this first phrase. We start off with a massive 1.5 bend on the 10th fret of the B string. Now use your ring finger and put your middle and pointer behind it so you can get that extra finger strength to get you up there. A lot of vibrato on the 9th fret when you land on that E as well. We come out of that with even more vibrato on the 7th fret of the G, so we're coming into the 5th fret position now. So we started off over here at the 8th, now we're in the 5th, and we're going like this. Just like that, and then we're hopping up this classic rock and roll style thing, up the 5th fret of the B and the E string, and then we're coming down again to the B, and then stopping with a full step bend on the 8th fret, right? So going up to the root note. Now as soon as we're finished doing that, we come back down 5, 8, 5, 8, 7, but then we're going to do a half step bend. Just like that. Nice and legato. 7th fret of the G, and then right into that. So coming out of that, we're doing the double bend on the 5th fret of the G. Just like that, and let a nice slow release, and we're hitting the note F sharp right on the chord F sharp minor. So that makes a lot of sense right there. So, and then we're followed by this near 2-step bend. So tons of monstrous bends here. So just a great, almost a Hendrix-inspired lick. Remember, Dream Theater were definitely influenced by Jimi Hendrix. I mean, there's no doubt. You can't play this and not be influenced by Jimi Hendrix. I'm sorry, it's just not possible. We come down a little lower with this. A lot of bends on the 5th fret instead of the usual culprits like the 8th fret or the 7th fret, where we can use our ring finger. We're using our pointer finger a lot of the time. So you're going to do a bend, basically a pre-bend, and then you're going to come down to the 5th, down to the 7th here, and then another pointer finger bend right down to the 3rd fret. So we're doing a lot of position changes here, but still remaining within the A minor pentatonic or A minor blues. We finish off this section by doing this. Just going straight up 16th notes. Pretty tasty. And that's just an A minor pentatonic scale starting in the 10th fret position, moving into the 12th fret position, and eventually resolving into the root note at the 14th fret of the G. Right after that root note, we come into section 2, which sounds like this. We begin that section with a lot of whole step bends on the 13th fret. Now this time I'm going to tell you to use your middle finger, so you still got a little strength from the pointer behind it. So we're on the 13th fret of the B string, bending up really exaggerated, and hitting the G string underneath during a couple of them as well to give that extra crunch to it. You're going to do that 4 times, and then we're going to head up to the 15th fret like this. So that's just a classic double stop. One note is bent and the other one is static. Lots of vibrato as well. The next part goes like this. It's a chromatic run going from the 11th fret, 12, 13, 14 on the G, then 12, 13, 14, 15 on the B, 12, 13, 14, 15 on the E, like this. Now when you get up to the top, I don't want you to use your pinky to bend. You should use your ring finger. So for the first 2, you're going to do that. All 4 fingers, tremolo picking as well, and then this one, right? So you're going to go pointer, middle, ring, and then slide the ring up to the 15th fret so you can get the optimal bend on that high note. And it's going to make the next lick a lot easier to play. Now here, you're already bent, so you're going to keep it bent at the 15th fret, and you're going to go, and you're going to release the B string as well. So you're going to be bending the E and the B at the same time. And then that little ditty coming down on the way down. Now this rhythm is really hard to hear, so you basically just want to exaggerate the first part, and then just kind of blast through the second half right there. And once again, we're changing positions quite often. Immediately following, we don't get any break. We got to go all the way to the 15th fret of the low E string, chromatically, kind of slowly at the beginning. With triplets. We're starting off with triplets, and then we're immediately blasting into 16ths. So ready? And then progressively getting faster as we go up the pattern. So let me play that really slow for you. And at full speed. In section 3, we're greeted with even more asinine bends that we have to deal with. So check this out. Did you hear all those bends? I don't even know how you're supposed to do that. You got to do it like this. Half step bend on the 19th fret of the B, and then hit it a few more times and then release that bend. And then the last bend is actually a whole step into the same note, going down chromatically to now the 18th fret. Just to give it a little more of an exaggerated punch right in the face. Then we come down to this. 15th fret, 2 steps. Can you get up 2 steps? I can get up 2 steps on a flight of stairs, but I can't get up 2 stairs on a tuna fish like this. Alright, so we got to make sure we have put all of our finger strength into that ring finger, right? Just blast up into the stratosphere of guitar note bends. And then as soon as we come off of that, we got to go. You're going 13 on the B, 14, 12 on the G, and then back up. And once again, we don't have any time, any breaths in between this. We got to get down to the 5th position now with our ring finger at the 7th fret. Half step bend on the high E string, right in the A minor pentatonic position, the one we're used to seeing. As soon as we're done with that held out note, we got to come down this pull off. 5-8-5 ending on the B string, and then we hit this. As soon as we're done with that, so make sure you're coming back up to the 5th fret of the high E string like this. And then once you do that, you let this rip. So that's kind of an odd phrasing. They're all triplets, but we end on an upbeat at the very last note. Let me play it slowly for you. See, you're coming in on the upbeat there. You're not quite on the down, so don't do that. Immediately after that, we do almost a pretty stereotypical lick here. This one's not really too crazy, but it's necessary. This is right out of Kirk Hammett's playbook. It's a series of double picks and pull-offs depending on what string you're on or how many notes you have left in the scale to play on that particular string. So we start off with a double here. Double pull-off, double pull pick, double pull-off, double pull pick. as you follow that exact phrasing, this is not going to be a problem for you. Make sure you give a nice big vibrato at the end though, because it is the end of a blues lick after all. All of these are blues licks, remember that. So that last bend puts us in the final section of the solo, quite possibly the most memorable, definitely the fastest, the most shred-induced monstrosity you're going to find in this whole thing. And basically what we're doing is we're attacking an A arpeggio from different angles. So check this last part out here. You're going to have to get your tight forearm, the Erotomania forearm, if you know what I'm saying. This is one of those how many notes can you fit into a measure type of challenges, and on the onset it seems like it's a lot harder to play than it is, but I'm going to give you some tips here that makes it a little bit easier for you. So we're starting off on the 17th fret of the high E string, pulling off into the 12th, and then hitting the 14th into the B string. Now this is going to remain the theme throughout the entire thing. So we're going like this, on those same frets, pull off, pick, pick, pull off, pull off. So you got a double pull off, pick, pick, pull off, and then we just do this until the measure is over. And you have to feel out exactly how many we're doing, but to make this easier, these are 30-second notes, okay? Our tempo is this. You see that? You just got to end before that last beat is over. Let me play it slowly for you. So you can almost see these as being pull-offs without actually being pull-offs. Your left hand is going to do the motion, but your right hand is going to be speed picking you out into the Wild West. So, but notice how I'm doing the same type of motion, as if I'm pulling off the string. So I'm going to tell you right here, it might be a little confusing. Do a pull-off without actually doing a pull-off. Left hand pulls off, right hand shreds on. You know what I'm saying? The next shape is at the 15th fret, 12th, and 14th, so last two notes remain the same, but we have a little twist at the end. So check this out. You're going to do the same pull-off, pick, pick, pull, pull, pick, pick, pull, pull. So single pull-off, then two double pull-offs. Now, coming up here, did you see what I just did? I went 15, 17, 15, 17, 15, 17, 15, 17. And you got to get through all of those notes before you hit the next pattern, okay? We do the same thing now going to the 14th fret. 12 and 14 on the high E and B remains the same. Same rhythm. And then once you get through that, we got to do this. 3 on that shape, which is 12, 13, 15, and then back down. Did you hear that pulse? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. You got to play it 3 times. The next shape you got to play twice. Right? With a little bit of extra on the 17th fret. And then we got to come all the way up that scale shape from 13, 15, 17, 18, and keep on climbing. And then once you hit the 22nd fret, so, and then after the bend, do a little slide. That's a 1.5 step bend, by the way. Do a little slide down to finalize it. This is like the end of a fireworks display, right? This is like the grand finale. You see how fast it is? You see those explosions are going off in your mind. Neurons are firing in every direction. And then finally, we got to finalize it. We got to bring them down nice and easy. The boardwalk is getting quiet. It's time for everybody to go home. But we have more song to cover, so don't go anywhere. Alrighty, so coming out of that solo, after we do that speed bag knock-a-rock-a-knockin', we got to hit another riff that's actually based off the earlier chord progression that we played prior to the solo. Okay? It's based off of the A, A7, A6, and then the F with the sharp 11 over the A, of course. Now, let's take a look at what this riff sounds like. Check it out. So we come in with these syncopated riff lines over the course of 2 measures, and we play over 4 different chord shapes where we're kind of separating the notes of that said chord, right? We're starting off on what would be an A major chord. So we're going like this. Slide. See that slide in the middle? Make sure you hit that slide in the middle. Check that out again. Quick. And then we got to come down to the 3rd fret down here. Those intervals are major, 3rd, 4th, 5th. Alright, so nice 3, 4, 5 going up to the octave. So we are outlining the A. We're also hitting the flat 7. You see, but we're only hitting the flat 7 very quickly as a grace note sliding into the root note. But then we come down to the low octave, but we're actually accenting it this time. Almost coming up a blues shape up there. So we're mixing the major 3rd and the minor 3rd in this. The next shape we do basically the same thing, but we're on an A7 instead. Now here we're doing a slightly different thing. We're, instead of going down to the low E string, we're going to the A string and playing the 5th and 7th fret. And then coming down 3, 5 once again. But we're basically doing the same idea but changing a couple notes. Let's hear that again. Flat 7. The next shape outlines a very similar pattern, but this time we're hitting the major 6th, which would be on the 4th fret of the D string. So we're just going down a whole step from the original note and then a half step from that note. So check this out. Same slide, and then we come down to the flat 7 again. So the only different note is that 4th fret, and you only get it once. You only deserve it one time. That's how Dream Theater operates. Now the only difference on this last one is we don't go to the C sharp again. We actually keep it to a minor 3rd because we're hitting the F chord. In an F chord, we don't have a C sharp. That would be stupid. That happened earlier in the song, the stupidity. This time we have a perfect 5th above the F, which is a C natural. And we go like this. F, same slide, and then come down the exact same shape. So let me just play that one time slowly for you. A major, flat 7, A7, A6, F, right back into an A major for the repeat. Now we don't have too much left to cover, but this last chorus is a little bit different than the first 2, so let me take you through the entire thing. We start on the F, just like usual, but this is more of like a lead-in, there's no vocals. Here we go. Same, this is all the same. To the D, to the G, back to the A. Now here, we gotta hit this lick. So see all those different notes there? We're outlining the same type of chord progression because down here we're usually on F sharp and A and F and A. We're actually hitting, we're bending into an F sharp, just like this, and then bending into an F natural. So we're hitting those chords perfectly as they descend downward, right? With a unison note being bent at the G string and held at the B string. Ready? Very nice compositional tool right there. And then instead of going down with the octaves, we go up. C sharp, D, E, leading right into F. Now this is very similar to the last part, except, hold on a sec, we're hitting a B flat. And then this. Whoa, and what is this? So let's go through that with a fine-tooth comb here. We're hitting a B flat chord, which would essentially be the 4 to the 4. So we were in the key of F Lydian, but now we're hitting the 4 chord of that chord, okay? So this is actually B flat Lydian. And then going down to a tritone to an E. So we're actually heading up the A melodic minor scale on this last part. We're hitting E, which would be the major 5 in the A chord. See? And then we're hitting the flat coming in after that, and then ending on the E, which technically becomes our new 1. So this is a lot of mode mixture kind of stuff. We're going from the 4 chord of the F right into the 5 chord of an A minor scale, or the A melodic minor scale. It's interesting because we're hitting an F sharp on the bottom, and then we're hitting an F natural on top, which we didn't do on the lower octave. And when we finally hold out that E chord, we come into this very nice sounding E major, E7 type of section with the same chord progression that we had in the second half of the first verse, but we're in the key of E this time. It only goes through twice. Check it out. So the analysis here is pretty simple. We're basically going with an E7 chord using the open E string, 7th fret of the G, 9th fret of the B, and the open E on top. Alright, let all those notes ring out. Coming into an E6, that C sharp turns it into an E6. Same exact pattern, and then C natural. That's an E augmented chord, just spread out very nicely, and it sounds very ominous too. It's a shame we don't hear that chord more often in this song. And then we go to this E sus2 or E add 9 chord. This time though, you have to hit an extra low E in there. You'll see it on the tab. We come back to repeat. Same thing. C augmented, and then we hit this nice open D add 9 chord. So we have open D, 7th fret of the G, which is an octave D, 7th fret of the B, which is an F sharp, the major 3rd, and then the E, which is the 9 or the 2, and ending it on that F sharp. What's odd though is that the D is the flat 7 of the E chord, so I'm not sure exactly what they were thinking here. But it sets up the next song perfectly, which is the Silent Man, which is in the key of G. So this here is the 5 chord, right? The dominant chord to the G major, all right? So that's how they made that work. We went from E7, which does have a D natural in it, moving down the chromatic thing, and then right into a D major, which then goes... We're not going to do this right now. We're not going to play this song. We'll play it a little bit later on the next episode of Let's Learn Awake. Thank you so much everybody for coming along this journey. There's a lot of notes to be played here. That guitar solo is absolutely insane in this song, so if you were able to learn it and you successfully got through all those 30-second notes, give yourself a round of applause. Not even a pat on the back. A full stadium of people clapping is what you deserve. Now, the next episode is, of course, The Silent Man, which will complete A Mind Beside Itself. This whole triage of beautiful music will finally come to a close. But we're not even close to being finished with this album. We just barely hit the halfway mark here, all right? We've already had tons of notes, tons of Kevin Moore idiosyncrasies, and insane subject matter as well. Very dark subject matter on this album, especially this song in particular. I feel like these are the best lyrics Dream Theater has ever written and probably ever will write, but that's okay. We're not going to tell anybody that I said that there. If you want to support the channel further, go to www.RomanOvamusic.com. You can check out all my original material. You can support the site via donation by going to subscribestar.com/RomanOvamusic, or I got a PayPal tip jar as well. Don't forget I have a Telegram channel if you're into that kind of thing, whatever. Social media stinks. YouTube is okay though, and the other video sites are cool as well. It's a little more functional for what I'm trying to do. But with all that said, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace.